welcome back to the floating Sundered Isles. We are about to rejoin our Sky Salvager, Thom Daisy. Quick bit of housekeeping. Believe it or not, I made a mistake in my last session because Thom swore his first iron vow as part of our inciting incident, and I did not roll it. There was a move associated with that. Instead, I just kind of kept going and then rolled a gather information move. And so I'm going to try to account for that and hopefully blend these results together because I'd like to keep it tidy. So first, what I'm going to do is give Thom his momentum from that last strong hit that he got for gathering information. Boom. Now, let's see how he does on swearing this iron vow, and hopefully it won't disrupt any of the narrative that I have. I'll try to fold it in as we'll see. So to start, let's write it out. I think this should be called Secure the Skycatch, and it's going to be at a troublesome rank. Given the fact that these are technically seasoned Skycatch catchers, though they may be down on their luck right now, this is not out of the ordinary for them. They know what they're doing. They just really needed the gig. Getting it done should not be out of their reach, but it's not without its complications, though, because they are coming about this work a little bit off the books. There are other interested parties, as always, and who knows what other threats from without. So let's see how it goes. Wish me luck. To roll an iron vow, I am rolling plus heart, and that's a medium stat for Thom. He's a pretty forthright guy. One of the descriptor roles that I got for him was brave and kind. So brave and kind Thom Daisy has 2 in his heart stat, and we're going to roll it. Plus 1 because I made this vow to my connection on Spire, Brother Gilbert. Sweet! Even with that plus 1, I didn't actually need it because I rolled a natural 6. Natural 6, isn't that funny? Giving me an action score of 8, which beat a 4 and a 6. So, let's talk about what that means. On a strong hit, you are emboldened, and you know what you need to do next. Take 2 momentum. So, luckily, this doesn't complicate where we left off last time. This is very, very, very fortuitous, and I am grateful. Thom is beginning this quest pretty strong, I think, in terms of momentum. He has the blessing of his connection, Brother Gilbert. He has the support of the crew and of his captain, whose health is waning and whose decisions seem to be a little odd lately. So I'm happy about this. Thom is sitting pretty with plus 6 momentum. That's going to come in handy, of course. So now let's jump back into the narrative a little bit. We last left Thom in the captain's quarters of the Last Chance, his ship as first mate under Captain Dice Calloway. Dice has not been his former self lately, once a pretty brilliant and beloved salvage captain. He and a few of his former crew suffered a pretty tragic accident when undertaking a salvage contract. We'll get into the details more if it comes up, but the long and short of it is that in the recent past, the captain, in attempting to save some recently acquired Skycatch from falling back into the curse that covers the world, except for, of course, all of the floating islands, Dice Calloway, being a daring and bold, extravagant Skyfarer, attempted to secure the catch and as a result drifted too low into the sky and was curse-touched, meaning that it got into his lungs. Since then, he's been suffering terrible nightmares. He seems disoriented a lot of the time, and thick purple veins are beginning to spiderweb across his face. As I mentioned last time, he's going on a little bit thick with the dandy makeup. Luckily, it seems like today, he's got the energy and the lucidity to allow Thom to run this mission and to try to fulfill this vow for Brother Gilbert. I think our recent exchange, though, has winded him, as short as it was, as he's giving his first mate, Thom, the formal nod to go ahead and take command of the ship, which is really taking a lot off Thom's plate. A longtime salvager like Thom, he knows what he's doing, but he feels a lot more comfortable getting permission rather than having to ask for forgiveness. And after a moment of Dice's initial liveliness, he sort of slumps back against his desk, and beads of sweat are beginning to run down his powdered forehead. And he says, "Oh, come to think of it, I think I may have a short rest. If you don't mind addressing the crew, Mr. Daisy?" "Go ahead and take it easy, Skip. It'll be fine. I'll keep you posted." "Ah, that'll do swimmingly. Wonderful idea, boy, wonderful. Best of luck." Leaving Thom to back out slowly. When he does, he runs directly into another member of the crew. Theta, the navigator, helmsperson, has been waiting at the door, it seems. Theta is from the island Harlock and is known as Theta of Harlock. The way I envision Harlock is that it's a bit of a rugged place, and the denizens of Harlock are maybe a little short on social charm. So when Tom spins around, he runs face to face with her, and she's already glaring at him and asks rather curtly, "So, is there a reason to have my boots on today?" "Yes. Yeah, we're going. We're going after Skycatch." "Are you sure?" "Yes. Yes. Get your brother." She warily gestures, and another Skyfarer steps from around the corner, and Theta's brother, Vadim of Harlock, has been standing nearby. He doesn't speak, but he has a signing language with his sister Theta, and he seems to be anxiously signing with her in order to confirm that they indeed will have something to do this morning. Honestly, I don't know if Tom needs this right now, and I think he's going to put his first mate hat on. In frustration, I think he just raps his fist on the little bell that hangs below the captain's quarters threshold and says, "I said we're going, and we're going. You and everyone else on this ship is Ironsworn now to bring this thing home, so prepare to make sail, would you?" Wide grins appear on both of their faces, and they pull up and strap in their goggles. Tom rings the bell again and steps through them. "All hands to stations," he calls. He's given this order before, but it hits a little bit differently today. And there's a burst of activity as the Last Chance is untethered from the dock and begins to drift outward. The mainsail is hoisted, and that means I have to make a move. I'm imagining the Skycatch target has been sighted somewhere in between a known passage, so in between Carson's Reach and Spire. So there's a chance that a savvy crew could make quick work of it, provided that nothing terrible happens. So we are going to set a course. When you travel a known route through perilous seas, skies in this case, roll plus supply, which I always forget is the stat that we're rolling for setting sail. But we're just shoving off from the island and our little sloop. It doesn't have much in the way of integrity, but at this moment, we do have full supply, so we're rolling +5. It's a weak hit, the first of the game. It has to happen, right? I got an action score of 10, but also a challenge die of 10. My second challenge die is only a 4, and I have 6 momentum. So I could theoretically burn momentum to make this a strong hit rather than a weak hit. I'm having a little bit of a dilemma because I'm not really sure. A strong hit means that I get there and the situation there favors me, and that sounds pretty good. On a weak hit, I can choose between making suffer moves, which I do not want to do, or face a complication at the destination. And that's interesting to me because that sounds juicy from a story standpoint, right? And maybe I don't want to burn all my momentum right now. But with a strong hit, I would also gain a little momentum back. If momentum in this game is a representation of how things are going, how favorable the conditions are, and given that we've established that this is a very, very important catch for us, I feel like if I've got the momentum to burn, I'm going to burn it. My 6 momentum beats the 4 that I rolled, and we now have a strong hit on our hands. Yay! And I will award myself back 1 more momentum. So with a starting momentum of 2, I now have 3. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? So the voyage is underway. We have disembarked from the Milestone docks. Tom has taken a position holding onto the ropes near the front of the ship, calling back to Theta, who's back on the wheel. And I imagine since this is a 3-dimensional craft, the wheel also has various levers and cranks that Theta uses to manipulate the fish fin-like sails that are placed around the Last Chance. As Tom calls, "Bring her around, helm!" the Last Chance makes a banking move that they're all pretty used to, but they have to counter their weight against it, and then begins to drop altitude as the intelligence that they've received indicates that the Skycatch is on its way up from low sky up into the atmosphere. The weather is good and clear. Everyone on the ship is feeling very gladdened and bolstered. They're getting to undertake a proper venture again. As Tom ponders this, I think he hears Q's voice from up in their equivalent of a crow's nest, which is, I'm sure, just covered in harnesses. And probably requires a stronger than average stomach. That's where Q, the quartermaster, is as he's swaying back and forth up there. After about an hour of descending on their current heading, Q calls down, "Skycatch!" And there's a cheer from everybody below. Tom produces his spyglass and extends it, and he's able to see the silhouetted shape of debris through the wispy clouds that are gathering around. But as they gaze fore and aft and up and down, they don't see any other sails. They don't hear the telltale drone of Commonwealth engines. No threat from overhead, and luckily, no threat from underneath. But I really don't know what they're going to encounter when they get here. I know that there's at least going to be cursewood, these huge tree trunk like beams of pale bone white wood that have the innate ability to defy gravity here. They are skybound. And with that is often a ton of other just random stuff that might be tangled up in it. The magical forces in all of the Sundered Isles are very chaotic, so we don't quite know what we're going to find. But I know that one thing that they all see right away is this big piece of cursewood, because that is cash right there. So as Theta, the navigator, cruises in, I imagine, as Skycatch always does, it has this erratic gravity to it. It's spinning and toppling in the air because the cursewood hasn't been worked yet. There are sky caught elements that are bouncing off of each other, so it's actually pretty dangerous to approach Skycatch if you don't know what you're doing. Theta adjusts the fish-like side sails to resist the wind, and they are able to pull to a slow circling formation around the Skycatch, leaving Thom and Vadim on the deck to survey what they're dealing with and envision the best approach to getting a net around it, securing it, towing it back. I think that's the idea. So this is where Thom's Scavenger asset is going to come in, and we're going to use this in conjunction with gather information, just to figure out what we're looking at. So basically with the Scavenger asset, I can roll +1. If I get it, I can take some momentum from it too. And I'm going to make that roll now. Gather information is +Wits, not Thom's best stat, but we're going to do it anyway. Woof, that was narrowly a miss, but thanks to that +1 from my Scavenger asset, I was able to turn an action score of 5 to 6, beating a 5. So I got a weak hit. I'm like already scolding myself for being more of a grasshopper than an ant when it comes to my momentum. But this is also where juicy stuff for the story comes from, so I embrace it. On a weak hit, the information provides a new insight, but also complicates your quest. Envision what you discover. Take +1 momentum. Okay, Thom's momentum's back at 4. Not so bad. But one thing I've got to figure out is this new complication. I think the crew are seeing what they're looking for. They're looking for these points with which to fire their gas-powered grappling hooks at various places in order to stabilize the debris and then secure it for the haul home. What's this complication going to be? I think it's time to ask the Oracle. So let's check out the story complication Oracle and see what it informs about our discovery. You are tracked or followed. That is not good. Because we made it to the catch, we established that no one is around. So what's tracking or following us? The reason that I laughed is that I know exactly what it is. And it was what I hoped wouldn't happen, but I guess that ends up being what we wanted to happen anyway. This is where I get to introduce a new faction, the Hellions. They are pirates. And the reason why we weren't able to cite them before is because they, unlike anybody else that Thom or his peers know of, they stalk their prey from underneath the curse. There were a couple of Oracle rolls that I made for this faction that really were fun in envisioning what they're like. One was uses specialized equipment or weapons. One of these specializations, as I imagine them, is that the Hellions have a technique where they can cobble together protective breathing apparatuses that keep them relatively safe under the curse. And their ability to lurk underneath these roiling, murky mists is their edge. But I don't think it's without a downside, because one of the quirks that the Oracle rolled for the Hellion fleet is work or environment causes mutations. We'll let that sit. So let's cut back to the crew of the Last Chance. They are in a really great rhythm together. They have slowed some of the tumbling momentum of the big clump of Skycatch. They are securing it with grappling hooks and nets. I think this is also really daring stuff, because I think it involves definitely Theta, definitely Vadim, definitely Thom, securing into these harnesses and then rappelling from the ship in order to lash together these ropes and knots and things. And they're making short work of it. The big raw plank of cursewood pulls to a stop, and some of the other little items that seem to be gravitationally drawn to the cursewood are sticking to it in places. And it seems that it's all just going to be point A to point B, They're all pretty happy about what's going on. But I think Thom, probably standing on the cursewood itself, standing on the Skycatch and holding on to his support line. And I think he feels really good. He's staring out at the horizon. He feels like a Skyfarer. The wind is blowing. The sun is shining. But I think it's Thom's animal companion, who is a raven. And I borrowed that over from Ironsworn into Sundered Isles. Hopefully no one will be mad about that. Seems fitting. He's a bird. We're in the sky. But Jinx the Raven is the one I think that alerts Thom to the impending danger. Wheeling upward from underneath the ship, Jinx lights onto Thom's shoulder. The graying bird is unmistakably distressed, flapping his wings and croaking his absurdly loud croak. And Thom knows instantly that they're in trouble. Scanning around for what the threat could be, and his heart sinks when he realizes that the enemy is coming from below, because he can see faint orange lamplight skimming the swirling void of the curse. It's in the same breath that these 3 dorsal fin type sails breach the cloud of the curse and begin to converge. On their position, Thom immediately calls, "Battle stations!" and immediately begins to climb up the rope. Theta is already at the wheel, bringing it about as these Hellion ships fully surface from the curse. And I think something else about their specialized equipment is that they don't have ships as much as they have kites. They have the ominous appearance at a distance as these skeletal birds because they're wiry frames made of curse wood rather than a full hull. And they have huge extended wing sails and long trailing pennant-like tails that are brightly colored and covered in terrifying warnings and kill counts and flamboyant pirate scary stuff. So we're being tracked or followed. That means they're not on us yet. We have the Skycatch and can't abandon it. And I don't think there's any way for us to tow the Skycatch and outrun the Hellions. So I think that this is going to be about fending them off and calling for backup. We are not very far from a major Mender's Guild base in Spire. This is a passage that is widely used, and so I'm beginning to think that these Hellions are taking a risk that they wouldn't usually take. This is very close to home for them to strike. Interesting. Wonder what's up there. It seems like we're going to have no choice but to face danger here. However, we've reached maybe a couple of milestones at this point. When you make headway in your quest by doing any of the following: gaining a meaningful insight. We've done that. We've discovered that there are Hellions preying on salvage ships right here close to the Spire in the pilgrimage area. That's going to have some implications politically, I think. And we've acquired a crucial item, a resource. We've got the Skycatch. We've got the Cursewood. So we are going to mark progress twice on our troublesome quest. That brings us to 6 out of 10. We are definitely not out of the woods yet. And now it's time to face danger. There are a lot of different ways to approach facing danger. I think that speed and mobility is going to be the biggest priority for the crew of the Last Chance to Get Away. But now that I'm thinking about it, part of this little beginning of Thom's story is about him stepping up into this command position, coming into his own as a future ship captain, we think. I think we're going to do this with resolve and command. Because like I said, it's not just going to be about escaping, it's also going to be about fending off these murderers. Thom joins Theta in the back of the ship near the helm and is shouting commands to everybody else essentially. Like, to arms! To arms! Pick them off before they land! So okay, we're doing this with resolve and command. Heart, again, it's a middle one for Thom. I hate to tell you this, it's a miss. Action score of 5 versus a 5 and a 6. Disappointing. Do I have the momentum? I do not have the momentum. On a miss, you fail, or a momentary success is undermined by a dire turn of events. Pay the price. We're paying the price. We always have to remember that the most obvious result, the most obvious dire consequence is probably the one that happens. The crew of the Last Chance, they're up to the task. Q is undaunted, still strapped up in the crow's nest, armed with a musket. I think we also see a hatch from below decks burst open, and our 5th crew member comes stomping up out of it with a musket that she tosses to Vadim, who then begins to also take aim against these swooping and swirling hang glider like aircraft. But this person who's arriving is the ship's cook slash barber slash surgeon, Constance. Constance is a little bit closer to Captain Calloway's age, so a graying bun that's held very tightly. She's got broad shoulders, and her footsteps are really heavily coming up the steps because she's got these big boots on. And she's got this really nasty looking wide barreled blunderbuss. And I also see her with some pretty thick spectacles on, which just... So she always seems like she has these really exaggerated pupils. And she's shouting filthy obscenities at these pirates and daring them to come down. Thom, I think, for a moment is bolstered by this, thinking like, wow, these are great Skyfarers on my team. We've got this. Things are going to go our way, and these creepy weirdos from under the curse aren't going to stop us. And I think just as he's having that thought, a shadow falls over him. In that split second, he knows that he's let his guard down. And over his shoulder just has enough time to see the wild and predatory eyes of one of these glider pilots through his gas mask, sailing over Thom. With a laugh, the Hellion pulls on two of the straps of their kite. And as the kite continues to fly, the Hellion makes a very calculated landing onto the deck right where Thom is. And, in fact, lands with a kick right into Thom's shoulder, sending him reeling back. Thom slams against it hard and falls against the deck, not injured, but winded, and knowing that he's at a severe disadvantage. As he looks up, silhouetted against the sun, this Hellion marauder is... Their face can't be seen, but there's a glee in the eyes as it pulls this long, serrated cutlass from its belt, standing over Thom, and seems absolutely determined to end Thom's life, steal their ship and their salvage. And I think that's where we're gonna stop it for now. I think that's enough of a cliffhanger, right, to last us until next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us on this Sundered Isles adventure. If you want to see more, liking or subscribing is a really great way to let me know. Thanks a lot. Be safe up there.